is Pep Guardiola a fraud?
My God.
Has he bamboozled all of us? Does he deserve all the praise that we gave him? Was he just an inheritance merchant? Or is it a case of where people are being a bit too harsh on him? Look at his achievements for Barcelona, his achievements for Bayern Munich. 100 points for Man City one season, 98 points for Man City the next season. Is this maybe people's bias and hate for Pep that they're forgetting what he has achieved at Man City? So I think it's only apt. It is only apt that we start with Mane. So Mane, I know that you actually obviously have made a mention about how Pep Guardiola gets these Spanish no-names like Angelino to be in the team and everything. But specifically let's just focus on this thing here. Is Pep Guardiola a fraud, Mane?
Hey everyone. He isn't a fraud, no. I mean, if you win 2 back-to-back Premier League titles and you have the best record in the history of the league itself, I think that in itself is enough to justify his whole time at Man City. But the one thing we can say is that in Champions Leagues, he's come a little bit short in games that he should have won, based on his own decisions in terms of his selection, leaving out Kevin De Bruyne last time in the Champions League quarterfinals, and just making these errors that are for no reason, overthinking, like they say. He likes to overthink. And as well as that, this season, I think he became a little bit too arrogant, not getting enough players. Now we see some people like Angelino playing left back. Terrible. He shouldn't be in the league, honestly. He shouldn't be in the Premier League. He's terrible. So it's a little bit.
Where did this dude even come from? Where did Angelino come from?
He was on loan in one of the other clubs that City gives players to for a while, and then he came back. I forget which team. Irrelevant team in any case. But yeah, he's a terrible, terrible player. I don't know how he's playing. He still insists on playing David Silva for some reason. I don't know if he has to have a certain quota of Spanish players in the team at every time. But it's just simple mistakes. He could have done more, but because of his arrogance, I suppose he did much less than he should have. So he should have won Champions, at least the semifinal. That's what we expected. At least the semifinal. And he was close 2 times, but he should have made it both times. But it's just poor choices.
So like City's 4 L's this season, do you put it mainly on Pep? Do you put it on the players, or do you put it on both?
I think it's just the lack of good players, but which all boils down to Pep. It's supposed to be he's the manager. He knows, and he has an unlimited checkbook. So there's no reason why we don't have enough players. Talking about injuries. Buy players that are enough. And Otamendi should have been starting from the start of this game against Man United. It's just he's not prepared, and he gets rid of players too easily without getting replacements. Like the older players, 2 seasons ago, got rid of Zabaleta. I mean, these players just keep him around, play him once in a while. And why did he get rid of Danilo, for example? Danilo was an exceptional, very good player. Not exceptional, a very good player. We could have used him today, but he just got rid of him for who did he get rid of him again? Somebody who's not playing. So that's those kinds of decisions are what will cost us. And I think honestly, it's time for him to go. In my opinion, I think he's done all he could. It's only gonna get worse from here. So.
Wow. Okay. So Ahmed, is Pep Guardiola a fraud?
We can't completely call him a fraud just yet.
Why not?
Because at the City team, he's won back-to-back Premier League titles, and we need to give him a little bit more time. See what he does in January. Transfer window. We know he has an unlimited checkbook.
I'm not.
We know he has an unlimited checkbook of the oil money, so he can definitely make signings in the January transfer window, and FFP are a bunch of bricks, so it's not like they're going to come after him. And then we'll see what he does the second half of the season. I think in his mind, the title race is over. I think it's all about the Champions League now for City. I think if it's all about the Champions League for Pep Guardiola. If he gets knocked out, like in the quarterfinals, the round of 16, then I think City will get rid of him. And plus, I think whoever City manages to get in the middle of the season wouldn't necessarily improve much on the squad. I think if they were to sack Pep, they should wait till the end of the season anyway.
Okay, so you're still with Pep is still a great manager and that he isn't a fraud. He's still that dude in your opinion.
He's not the greatest manager. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna
Is he
call him.
one of the greatest? Do you still affirm that he's one of the greatest?
Yeah,
Even if he took L's to Norwich and Wolves, he's still one of the greatest.
I mean, didn't Jurgen Klopp take too many draws last season? We could talk about any one of these managers at one point or another.
Okay, fine. All right, Liverpool for everybody. Is Pep Guardiola a fraud?
I think as a manager, he is. I think as a coach, you can say something different. I don't know how many people watch NBA, but I compare Pep Guardiola as like the Robert Ory of football. He ends up on a lot of good teams, and Robert Ory was a good player, and so is Pep.
He made some very big shots. He made some very big shots.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that Pep has too in his own little way, but yeah, as a manager, I just don't see it. I don't see it. And the guy before me said something about transfers in January. Are you kidding me? That like we're talking about transfers for City. So yeah, no, definitely fraudulent as a manager. As a coach, he's obviously has a decent CV. That's how I see it.
So, but you don't. So you would say like he's a bit overhyped with regards to how he's perceived as a manager.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay. Abdullahi, is Pep a fraud?
Man, he's a bastard fraud, man. He's a bastard.
Whoa.
I keep saying it, man. People keep telling me, do I have an agenda against Pep Guardiola? Yes, I do. Because he's a fraud. Because he is a fraud. Pep Guardiola can tell me. I asked Man City fans, they tell me he spent almost 450 million euro on a player. You can spend that kind of amount of money on a player and you can't deliver a Champions League. I don't care how many players you have. I do not care. You can't tell me you have Kevin De Bruyne, Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling. Those are quality players who can deliver you Champions League. I don't care those players you have. Those players can deliver you Champions League. You want back-to-back EPL. For what? For that kind of money, right? If I'm correct, that kind of money, you can't tell me you can't deliver a Champions League. Everybody's abusing Mourinho. Mourinho is this. Jose Mourinho is that. Jose Mourinho has won Champions League in 2 different clubs, FC Porto and Inter Milan. Did they spend any money? No. Pep Guardiola almost look at Bayern Munich. Look at how much he spent in Bayern Munich. The least he entered in Bayern Munich was semi-final Champions League. That was when he ended up. Did this how much he spent in Bayern Munich? You have Arjen Robben, pick. You have Ribéry, pick.
When he took over Heinkes' team, man, that was Heinkes' team, bro.
Yes, he took over them. You have Ribéry, you have Ruben, you have Thomas
Lewandowski.
You have good players who are willing to win something for you. Did you win them anything?
Yeah.
No. You need to ask Pep Guardiola, why do you leave Bayern Munich? Because there's a problem. Because he didn't deliver in Champions League. Because the boys are tired. You keep spending money every season and no nothing. I'm saying to all City fans now, they should listen. Either money through City Park. Listen. Pep Guardiola is not winning the Premier League, neither winning the Champions League. Until Guardiola leave Man City, they are not winning anything. I'm serious now, HH. They are not winning until that fraud, that bastard fraud, leave that club. It's not winning anything.
So just to wait. So you don't think that Pep deserves any credits for his 2 Champions Leagues with Barcelona?
No,
his treble in 2009.
He won that Champions League with Lionel Messi, Xavi Hernandez, and Andres Iniesta. That's when he won it. He won it with those 3. Those 3 players won in the Champions League. Those 3 players won it. After he left that Champions League, when he went to Bayern Munich, it was flop in Champions League. The same is doing in City. If Man City want to win that Champions League, they need to get Massimiliano Allegri. That is the best coach for them.
Excuse me? Who?
Yes,
Are you mad?
That is the coach that's gonna win them Champions League. Pep Guardiola is not gonna. He's gonna keep spending money and he's gonna be flopping in Champions League.
All right.
Because it's a garbage. It's a fraud.
Oh,
All right. Guardiola, you've talked, man. Damn. A1. Is Pep Guardiola a fraud? A1. All right. Hazem. Pep. Is Pep a fraud? Hazem.
Yeah, man. First of all, what do you mean by fraud? Can you tell me?
So basically, he is perceived to be one of the greatest managers of all time.
Mutaize.
So do you believe that in light of recent events this season, we have been lied to with regards to how he sees himself, specifically how he said in his documentary that I destroyed football, that he isn't actually, he's been selling us a lie as him being one of the greatest managers of all time.
All right. So, Okay, I would say if we're talking about people considering him one of the greatest, and him saying he destroyed football, I would say he's definitely overrated by those people. I would place him as among the top 10 greatest of all time. I wouldn't place him in the top 5, the very highest tier. And I would just say that for a system based manager, he's done very well. And why I say that is
So you're saying that he's a system merchant.
no, it's not a merchant. There have been many great system based managers in the history, and eventually they reach their limitations, and we can see that with Guardiola, that he has reached his limitation to some extent with his system. For example,
But very quickly, someone in the live chat just says, name 5 greater managers than Pep.
oh, okay, definitely.
I can name them.
Yeah, I'll give you.
Okay. I know have him go because obviously you said okay, you wouldn't put him top 5. So name 5 better than Pep.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I'll go with Arrigo Sacchi. Second of all, Sir Alex Ferguson. Third of all, Jupp Heynckes. Fourth, Ancelotti, and fifth, Mourinho.
Okay.
And I probably missed out some guys, but those are my off the top of my head.
He said I probably missed out some guys. Have some shame, man. Have some shame.
Because I forgot the name of the Ajax manager that won three in a row and actually invented the tiki-taka system that Guardiola took from.
Is it Johan Cruyff? Johan Cruyff?
No, before Cruyff.
What is
Cruyff
his
played
name?
in this team, the Ajax 3 in a row, 1970s, but I forgot. Anyways, those are my 5 that I know at the top of my head.
Oh no, go on.
So, yeah, I would say he's in the top 10 definitely, and Guardiola has achieved great success, and you need to be a top manager in order to achieve success, even if you have money. Okay, because even if you have more money than the other teams, you're not getting anywhere if you don't have a top manager, and we've seen that with PSG. They spend loads of money, and they've not been able to win the Champions League for how long? Because they've had good
Because
managers,
they're losers mentality, bro.
but not top managers. No, but Man City. There was a time when Man City had a loser's mentality until they started winning leagues. But obviously, when you put money into the team, you need a top manager in order to translate that money into success. And Guardiola has done that, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have his limitations. And you see many of the managers that have stayed long term and have had long term success are versatile managers. Like, for example, Sir Alex Ferguson, quite versatile, can adapt games. Even Arsene Wenger, very long time in Arsenal, but he eventually also became too insistent. So I think Guardiola is going to win the league this season, and it's still.
Oh, you still think? Whoa, what? You think City will still win the league this season?
Yeah, of course. I think City's winning.
Oh, so you think Liverpool are going to choke a 13 points lead?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely possible because once they're very very reliant on Salah and Mane, and if one of them, no, it's true, they are reliant on Salah and Mane, and if one of them, look, I'm giving credit to Mane. It's nothing to do with my the Salah versus Mane. I'm saying Salah and Mane. So if one of them or both of them have a drop in form or get injured, then it's going to be very bad for Liverpool. Whereas Man City have more spread out, more depth in all areas of the pitch. They still need to improve their defense, but I still see them over the long run overtaking Liverpool.
Okay. So before I go to Muntaha, someone in the live chat said that you wouldn't put Ancelotti over Pep. I believe Ancelotti has won 3 Champions Leagues, 2 with AC Milan and 1 with Real Madrid. So
how many league titles? How many league titles?
He gave Zidane a legacy in Madrid.
He never, Mane, he never had Messi. Simple as that. And he never inherited a Heinkes team. Muntaha, is Pep Guardiola a fraud?
Rinus Michels, by the way, is the manager I was talking about from Ajax.
Okay. Muntaha, is Pep a fraud?
Bro, like the question is like, I mean, that's simple to answer the question. Oh, is he fraud? But if you see from the Champions League perspective, domination perspective with regards with Man City team, I think so. He is. But look! You have to listen to me first because don't directly jump to the conclusion. Okay, why actually Man City bought Pep Guardiola? I've said this thing so many times. Why? The reason is that Okay, you gave them identity in the Premier League. I mean, to the Man City team, but that's what not just a one like a project. That was just one objective of project. The project was you have to put the domination of Man City in world football. You have to make them a consistent elite European force every season in Champions League or most of the big European stages, which he utterly failed. I mean, his tactics was flop. Okay, then his management wasn't even like on the spot. When he used to coach Man City in Champions League. So I think so. That's a failure with regards to European success. Let's talk about the league thing. I believe that his first season was failure as well, and his second season was huge success. And you have to give him credit for this.
How much did he spend? How much did he spend though?
No. I'm coming there. Okay. In his third season, he did it. I think so. He chased his title first time, and in the most impressive manner. So you have to again give him credit for that. This season, he flopped again, and I cannot see this Man City team, single-handedly, by putting all the eggs in one basket and win Champions League. Now, they're out of the question for the title race now. We know that who's going to win the Premier League. The only thing left.
Do we?
Yes.
So you're ruling out. So you don't think that Liverpool can still choke?
No,
They have choked before. They have choked before, bro.
Brother. HH, this is like, come on, man. 14 points and Leicester City. We know that Man City is going to face Leicester at some point. So we know that, like, even Leicester is going to drop the points. Man City is not in title race now. Let's be honest over here. And let's talk regarding his, philosophy and all this thing. Bro, what just Hazem said, his philosophy is limited. And, bro, there's a difference between a great manager and a great analyst. His analyst.
Yes.
The reason I'll tell you why he's great analyst. Bro, if you look his project, first he went to the Barcelona. He knew that, like people talk about the Pep Guardiola fanboys. Yeah, they talk, he made that Barcelona team. He know the system. He know the Rijkaard system. He know the flipping batch of La Masia. He knows that this team.
Also, Cruyff gave him the platform. Cruyff gave him that platform.
I think so. Yeah, but that's like back in '94. So I don't want to go like those in the early '90s era. But like I'll just talk regarding it after the Rijkaard era. So he knows that this team has certain players who establish stars. Okay, with his system, he improved the efficiency of the system, and at the end of the day, he dominated the football. Yes, okay, there was Messi, there was Xavi, there was Iniesta. Okay, but what happened now? Now, when you moved, you left the Barcelona Football Club, you left to Bayern Munich, okay, German football club. You analyzed the whole league. Oh, because I believe that in league, so in most of the league, there's 18 teams to 20 teams. So out of that, if three teams relegated and 3 new teams promoted, so that's the only work you have to do, because you can analyze, you have enough data to crack the league. It's like a cracking the code, league. But when it's come to Champions League, we don't know
the big boy tournaments.
Yes, and the reason is that look, I'll tell you, because every year big European elite teams, they try to by new players, they try to replace it. So the randomness of the tournament of Champions League is so difficult that this guy don't have enough record in his data. So at the end of the day, every time he flops. Okay, look what happened last season. I believe that Man City last season, they have potential to reach final, I believe, but this guy choked. Come on, you have to blame Pep Guardiola, even though Aguero missed the penalty in the first leg. He didn't start so many stars in the second leg. He benched Fernandinho. He started Kevin De Bruyne. Then he didn't start Sane. Come on, this guy had made so many management errors, man. Come on, so many mistakes. So we cannot just simply say that he's the greatest of all time. No, he's not the greatest of all time. He's
of course.
Yeah. And secondly, bro, there have been so many great managers. Okay, bro, tell me. I'll just give you one example. Before 2010. Where was Real Madrid? Because I'm a Madrid fan, so I will give my club one of our example. Mourinho came into Real Madrid. He ran
Pep out of town. He ran Pep out of town.
Yes. And he built a new system where people in the Champions League used to start fear Real Madrid as well. Because Mourinho started that kind of fear mentality, putting fear of a team into the opposition hand. When did Pep did? Please, can you tell me? When was the last time Pep did that? You think Barcelona? Okay, that was only one team. Did he do with the Bayern Munich? People used to fear Bayern Munich before Pep Guardiola. Did he do with Man City? Who fears Man City in Champions League? Or tell me, even last season, even season before that,
Tottenham.
bro. Yeah,
Tottenham beat them. No.
Yeah.
Actually, but wait. Let me just hit the super chats real quick because there's something I want to just come in and just say. So thank you very much, Bunsa Fujiwara, for your $2 super chats. Ter Stegen, 2 assists. Hazard, 0 assists. Bunsa, thanks for that. But in response to that, Hazard, when Zad gets back to fitness, he is still tier 1. I know you hate it, and I know you don't like it, but Zad is still one of the best players in the world.
You mean when he loses weight? Is that what you mean?
Mane, thanks for that. But let me just make a quick point here, just a very quick point here. See, people like to view this as us hating or piling onto Pep and everything, but it's not. This is just straight facts. What is happening to Pep is karma. Ever since he opened his arrogant mouth and said that he destroyed football in that documentary, this is karma biting him in the ass.
No,
Because
but
for
AJ,
Pep
come
Guardiola,
on. Don't hold double standards. Don't hold double standards.
What I've always said is that you have been a benefit of situations. You've never managed. You've never ever managed. You've never managed a situation. You've never built up something. So it's just me being real. So, like Barcelona, I know you did well, coach, brought all that whole tiki-taka thing. You had the core of a team that's won 3 major trophies with Spain. Bayern Munich, you took over a treble-winning team, and you couldn't even make it to the Champions League final. Man City, how much money did you have to spend? 100% you did well to do domestically. Can't even get into a single Champions League semi-final. So when we look at this dude's resume, how good is this dude really? How good is this so-called GOAT really? What the hell has this guy actually achieved? He's not achieved anything.
No, come on. That's too far.
He's not achieved anything.
No,
That's too far.
Yeah, that's like a bit
Come on,
stretch.
man.
I believe that. No.
Okay, what has he achieved? No, please tell me what he achieved.
No,
Tell me what he has truly achieved. Please tell me.
Bro, I'm not a Pep Guardiola apologist over here, but what I'm trying to tell you that I mean, he improved the efficiency of the system that Barcelona side. Okay, so you have to, at the end of the day, you have to give him some credit for that. It's not just okay. Like look what happened with the flipping Rijkaard. They were a good team, but like they wasn't playing as a unit, as a system. Okay, the way he built the system, and they started thriving to that system. So you have to give him credit for that system. Come on, like at the end of the day, I know that there are so many managers who are better than Pep Guardiola. Okay, in his overall career, but you have to give him credit for that.
But also, if it was Mourinho who had that 100-point season in the Premier League, we'd never hear the end of it. We would talk about, oh, Mourinho, man, he just
no. I'm always very fair with Mourinho. I'm always very fair with Mourinho.
By the way, Mourinho spent 360 million for Man United to win nothing. So there you go. At least Pep spent 450 million, gives you two Premier League titles back to back. That is a return on investment. Mourinho.
No, but come on, that's different.
Sixth place. Oh yeah, but still the money is still the same. 360 million, 6th place. That's what Mourinho gets.
Well, no. Look, when Pep wins a Champions League with an Inter Milan, talk to me. Red, is your mic working there, Red?
Yeah, it's working. It's working. HH.
So Red. So basically, the question here is this: is Pep Guardiola a fraud? Did he lie to us with regards to him being a GOAT? Is he an inheritance merchant? Is he just a guy that is reliant on money and Lionel Messi?
Wait. How can we? First of all, he's not the GOAT. We got to get that out of the way because, one, how could you be the GOAT when your tactics are plagiarized off of Johan Cruyff, who's also plagiarized off of his manager?
Michels,
yeah, like so you can't be the GOAT when your style's influenced by somebody else. That's one thing, and also your accomplishments. Though, look, Pep Guardiola is an elite manager. Like we have to accept that. Whether you call him the GOAT, he didn't destroy football. First of all, he didn't. Barca 2009 destroyed football, but that was also a whole team effort because you have to consider it was one part Messi, arguably the best player of his generation. It was one part Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, and that spine of that Spanish team from 2008 to 2012, and it was one part Guardiola, which no doubt he had his own influence. He's a top manager, but again, when you say the GOAT, like you can't say he's the GOAT because let's look at his track record, right? In Spain, he three-peated, great job with Barcelona side. He won 2 Champions Leagues. again, we have the asterisk of Messi and that Spanish team that we have to always put those there. Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi. We can't just simply write that off because these are winners with and without Pep. Because when you put those three La Liga titles into perspective, Barcelona have won 9 in the last 12, right? Since Pep Guardiola, they've won 9 in the last 12. Pep has only won 3 of those. So they've won 6 without Pep. They've won a treble without Pep. So can you really claim all of that for Pep? No, you can't. You can't give Pep sole credit for that. Let's move on to Bayern. Undoubtedly, great influence on Bayern. 3-peated also with Bayern. But again, when
took over Heinkes' team. That's mentioning your boy up. Mentioning your boy up.
He did. Of course, he took over Heinkes. He took over a great team. But the fact that he even took them to 3 league titles is commendable. But for Bayern, that's not Bayern's goal every year. Of course, they want to win the league title, but they want the Champions League. That's what you were brought for. And in the Champions League, you got knocked out by, let's say, you got knocked out by Real Madrid. Okay, that's acceptable. Even though you got knocked out like humiliating, like 4-0. But you got knocked out by Madrid. It's an acceptable team to lose to. You got knocked out by Barcelona. Acceptable. But against Atleti? Like, come on. Like, you can't get knocked out by Atletico Madrid. Regardless of how good Atleti were at the time or whatever, they're not. You can't get knocked out to Atletico Madrid in a Champions League semi. I'm sorry. And especially the fact that Madrid beat Atleti in that final, which he probably would have had a better chance than them. But the fact that he knocked out them, like, that's a big loss. And then with City. Now, with City, this is his 4th season with City. He lost in his first season, and people can't be like, oh, it's his first season, give him an excuse. No, because it was Conte's first season, and Conte took over a team that was in 10th, and he won the league in his first season. So, no, Pep doesn't get that excuse. But he did go back-to-back, accumulating 198 points, which is a great accomplishment.
No, that is impressive.
But 3 quarterfinal exits to inferior teams, aside from Liverpool. Liverpool's the only team that, again, it's fine. If you get knocked out to Liverpool, European giants, that happens. But when you get knocked out by Spurs that spent $0 that year, Spurs last season spent $0. How come on? Like how is that acceptable? How do you get knocked out by Monaco? Which people said at the time Falcao was finished. He got knocked out by Monaco. Not only that, he conceded like 6 goals to Monaco. Come on. Like, that's not acceptable. Juve went on to play that same Monaco side, conceded 1 goal. 1. Yet Pep's team conceded 6. And you want to call him, like, come on, like, we have to ask, if you're saying this guy is one of the greats or is the GOAT or whatever, like, I'm not even comparing him to Mourinho. Like, let's keep the comparison aside. Let's just judge Pep's career as an individual. It's not the same. And I'm reading the comments. I see some people are saying, like, oh, Ferguson, he only won 2 UCLs. Yeah, but Ferguson rebuilt teams over and over again. Ferguson built a dynasty.
Oh, no, he took a squad. Like, you guys, you have to give. Look. This isn't us hating on Pep, and I think I just want to be clear here because this may seem as if beating a dog when he's down. It's like Pep is down now.
No.
14 points behind. We're now sort of piling on him. I've had this Pep rhetoric all the way through. I've always said that he is, and I think the best way to put it is that he's a great coach. He'll always be a great coach. He improved Sterling. He helped to refine us with and everything. Being a great coach doesn't mean you're a great manager. He's not a great manager. Like, Pep cannot take a mid-table team or a team who didn't really win many major trophies like an Inter Milan and make them win. He could never win a Champions League with FC Porto. He could never win a Champions League with Inter Milan. He could never win a Champions League with Manchester United. It could never happen. He can only be part of big clubs who have big players and have a lot of money to spend. He can't get down in the gutter
one last
and
thing,
manage.
I just want to round up my point on it, is that also look at Pep's biggest rival right now in the Prem, Klopp. Klopp came to Liverpool, right? It's his 5th year right now at Liverpool. He came to a Liverpool side that was mediocre at best. At best. Like, they didn't have world-class talent in that squad. What did Klopp do? He bought Sadio Mane, relatively unknown from Southampton, right? What does he turn him? He turns him into a world beater. Brought Mohamed Salah, which, to his credit, he was on the incline because Salah was like improving year after year, but he took him from a good player to a great player. He brought Firmino. Firmino was from Schalke, I believe, if I remember correctly. Also made him. Hoffenheim. My bad. Sorry. Thank you, guys. But the point is, like, he brought these relatively unknown players. Virgil van Dijk. Who knew about Virgil van Dijk 4 years ago? Nobody. He lost 7-0 with Celtic against Barca. I remember that's the only time I remember Van Dijk aside from that. But Klopp converted all these players. Even on a lesser budget, he's been able to go neck to neck with Pep, and even last season won a Champions League over Pep. So how come people don't call Klopp the greatest?
No, but right.
How come nobody ever rates Klopp as much as they rate Pep? Klopp has always took on harder challenges and has overcome those challenges. He went back to back with Dortmund.
Okay, wait. So I mean, I think so. Hazard. I think you wanted the last one. Just have the last one, Hazard, before we move on to the next thing.
The last thing that in the Champions League, this is why Pep keeps on failing the Champions League. They've learned his system, and the Champions League especially the Champions League is not something that system-based coaches usually win. If you look, the last time a system-based team won the Champions League was actually Pep, and that was because his team was substantially man for man better than anyone else when he had that Spanish core and Messi. So if you want to win the Champions League, you need to be a versatile manager, and that's why you've seen all these past years the coaches that have been winning the Champions League are not system-based. Di Matteo, Heynckes, Zidane, all balanced or versatile managers. And if Pep just keeps on sticking to the system, he's not going to win the Champions League.